Wrenching in the garage is not all fun and games on your classic cars. Sometimes your daily driver needs love too. In preparation for a 1,200-mile round trip, I needed to do some maintenance items on my 2006 Porsche Cayenne S Titanium Edition. The biggest thing I needed to tackle was replacing the worn-out cam cover gaskets on the driver's side of the Cayenne's V8 engine. But this one was a priority because a leaking cam cover on these tends to seep down onto the exhaust manifold. I could smell oil driving around town, and while it was a very slow leak, it needed to be addressed, as I don't want burning oil on a hot manifold. That can only lead to bad things potentially. In this video, I'm going to take you through all the steps needed to properly take out the cam cover on the driver's side for a Porsche Cayenne. The end of the video shows me replacing the gasket and the engine starting. The installation is the reverse of this, and for the sake of time, you can just mirror image what I do in this video. I've significantly edited the parts and put them in the proper order so that you don't waste time like I did doing this job. And I'll take you through that now. Stay tuned. So the first thing with this job, because you're dealing with the fuel injection system, is you need to disconnect both the positive and negative terminal on the battery, and you need to wait an hour before everything, all the energy dissipates. So that requires removing the front two bolts of the driver's side seat track, and that's what you see me doing here. I cover this in detail in a battery replacement video I did a while back, and I'll provide the link in the description below. But anyway, once these two bolts are loosened and the trim pieces in back are taken out, now that gives you access. You take the cover off of the battery and you can get to the two terminals with a 10mm wrench. That's what you see me doing here. Moving on. On the front of the engine, the first thing you do is take off the intake cover. And I'm going to stop right here. Right where my left pinky is, you see that there are two plastic cap screws, but they're special screws. They're injection molded plastic, and they have a slot on them. This trips up a lot of people. You need to make sure that the slot is lined up before you start pulling those two cap screws out. The one on the driver's side needs you to remove that clip for the mass air sensor. Once you do that, you unscrew these band or Jubilee clips, and you can set, you take those clips off, and you can set the airflow sensors on either side out, and then that main piece going into the intake can come out. There's a vacuum line there you have to take out, and you take that clip off, and this comes right out. I was careful not to try and take out the mass airflow sensors. Those are about $600 a piece. Don't want to screw those up. And now one of the things I did, I learned later on, but I'm showing in sequence now. This bolt here on the corner is the one bolt that holds the driver's side air cleaner in place. You need to remove that in order to remove the air cleaner. And here I am underneath the fender. You can see me grabbing from, my camera is now on the driver's side brake rotor looking up towards the air cleaner. Now, the reason I'm removing this, there's the duct that comes in, and then I'm coming in from both sides trying to lift it out. All right. Now you see I have clear access. The reason for this is now I'm coming in with the camera. On the top of the cam cover is a wire that crosses over from the fuel rail down into the bottom of the engine bay and actually connects to the air conditioning compressor. Some other videos out there on this job show them actually disconnecting I found that by removing the air cleaner and then moving the clips of that wiring, That gave me enough slack, and that's what I'm doing here, is just removing the 2 clips that hold that wire on the side of the engine around the power steering hoses to get me enough room, and then I just pulled it upwards so that I had slack on the top of the engine. Next is the driver's side air pump. There are 3 bolts holding this on. I'm just removing those quick here. That comes out of the bracket. There's a close-up shot of it. And you're going to see me, you really have to disconnect the linkage here, the electrical connection, so that that's out of the way as you go to work on this. Of course, each one of these electrical connections is slightly different. There's also, because this is an emissions device, that's I believe the air injection line. All right, next up is the fuel rail cover. Now, I'm going to stop it right there. This is a plastic piece that fits over the fuel rail, and there are 4 fingers that fit over the main part of the cam cover. So it's just a matter of loosening these. And that comes right off with a couple snaps. Now, the next up, now that that's off, I'm taking the air pump bracket off. And you see me using that telescoping magnet in these tight spaces. As I go to pull the bolts out, I like to use that so that there's a good chance I won't lose it. There's a good shot of me pulling out that long bolt with the magnet so it doesn't drop underneath the engine and ruin my day. The bracket out, the next step is to remove the coils, and to do that you need to disconnect them. There's a close-up. There's a shot of that air conditioning compressor wire. You can see how tight it is before I started loosening that air cleaner. But these you just push with a screwdriver and they come right out. Mine were replaced less than a year ago. I have another video out there of that. They're held in with these star sockets that form the base for the fuel rail cover. You need to loosen those with a special socket, torque socket, I believe. And then with 2 hands, you gently pull out the coils. And even though these have been in less than a year, they're a little tricky to get out. And it's just a matter of going down the bank. The driver's side on these V8 engines, it's considered cylinders 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm pulling 7 right now. And finally 8. Okay, now here I am labeling up a piece of cardboard, and I'm doing a diagram of all the bolts that add up in this piece. And I'm slowly detailing that out. So here's a better shot of that corrugate. And I believe my count is 20. Now you see how I labeled it front and top. That's how I knew all the orientation was going to be. Once I did that, it was a matter of just going through everything. And these are all torques, either male or female, so you need a set. And here I am just going through, finding all the bolts, taking them out. You see some of them are holding brackets down for the fuel rail. You see the air cleaner is still in place at this point. And how tight that air conditioning compressor wire right next to cylinder 5 there. I really needed to get slack in order to pull the cam cover out. Now here is the middle. There are 4 middle bolts that go into the head. You have to be very careful. I actually had my air compressor blower attachment. What was not shown is I'm trying to clean. There was some dirt in these galleys, and what I wanted to avoid was getting dirt into the cylinder head itself or by the camshaft. So I tried to clean these out as best I could before I took the cam cover off. These aren't really heavily torqued down by any stretch, but 17 years, 185,000 miles, it's going to be a little bit tight. All right, now in the back corner here, you see me using a combination of universals to get the star nut. And actually, I have some drivers that are Torx bits, and one fits into a 1/4-inch socket. That, with a combination of the universals, is how I got that far one in the back corner. So you need a set of deep well male and female Torx wrenches, and there you see me pulling out that last bolt in the very back corner. If this job is one of those that you need a set of extensions and universals. Now this is sped up about 20 times, but you get the point of where I'm finding all of these. And each time I take out a bolt. Okay, another thing I wanted to point out here. Now here's a good shot of as I get ready to pull the cover. So at this point, I had later pulled the air cleaner and the wiring that I showed earlier. So that gave me enough room that I could tuck the cam cover and pull it out towards the front. Now you see in the back here, I had used a couple of zip ties to actually hold the fuel rail up very gently. I did that between the fuel rail and one of the underhood trim piece mounting points. It gave me just enough clearance to hold that out of place, as I was just doing this job myself and needed to, I only have 2 hands. You can see I really didn't want to disconnect the air conditioning compressor if I didn't have to. And in my case, I tapped this. I didn't show that with a rubber mallet, and it was enough to let it disconnect. And then just got to keep wiggling it out and see I have enough room with that wire that I can slowly wiggle it around. And there it is, coming out of it. So on a positive note, I was very pleased to see the condition of the cams and the timing chain once I pulled the cam cover off on the driver's side. Very clean engine. If you had told me this engine had 185,000 on it, I'd be very suspect. But that just goes to show how good Mobil 1 Oil is in these engines. All right, here I am unboxing the gasket set that I purchased from FCP Euro. And I'm slowly pulling out the old gasket material to say how dry and brittle these parts were. This was the toughest one, this, I believe, PC pressure cover. This was a bitch to get out. There's no other good word for it. It had really been heat soaked. And here I am installing you can see they're much more flexible. You have to be very careful on the cam cover side there to get those into the slots. And then what I didn't show here is there is 2 places where you put sealer. I'm actually trying to press the new seal in on the top here. I spent way too much time making this happen. This was just a bear. And finally, I carefully got it in there. You can see it just would not go in. Finally, I used a 1 1/4-inch socket to do it. All right, so once everything was taken apart and the gaskets are in, basically if you follow this video in reverse order, you'll be able to put everything back together. The torque on those bolts, on all of the bolts, is 7.5 foot-pounds. You need to convert that to inch-pounds if you have an inch-pound torque wrench like mine. It's not a lot of torque, so don't go reefing these down. Use a torque wrench in all of the bolts that you can, and then you'll have a good feel for how little is needed to tighten down the rest of it. What I didn't mention is that there is the need for a high-temp silicone on 2 points of the valve cover. I did not capture a shot of that, but here's a diagram of where I put those. All right, here's the engine starting. So I'm pleased to report that after doing that, just under 1,300 miles with the total round trip and driving around Charlotte, North Carolina locally. Pleased to report nothing is leaking on the driver's side, and the burning oil smell has gone away. When I get a little bandwidth here, as things slow down in the next month or so, and I'll be able to do the passenger side, but the critical path was to get the driver's side. I've got too many other projects between the 928 rack and the Boxster water pump that I'm going to do right after I get this video done. That can wait a little bit. So that's what it takes to replace the cam cover gasket on the driver's side of a 4.5 liter Porsche V8 in a first generation Cayenne. If you found this video informative or just enjoyed it, please press the like button. If you haven't done so already, I encourage you to press the subscribe button and make a comment or two, as that helps the algorithm and gets this channel expanded to others. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Please press the like and subscribe button, comment below, and be sure to check out our other videos on this subject, as well as all of the great content on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions, you can call me at the number listed below, or be sure to check out our main website, guyswithrides.com.